It was a cold, moonless night when Sarah moved into the old house on the edge of town. The house had been abandoned for years, but it was perfect for her, a fresh start away from the city, where she could focus on her writing. The real estate agent had mentioned the strange history of the place, but Sarah wasn't superstitious. She just wanted peace and quiet. On the first night, as she unpacked her belongings, she noticed something odd. The air inside felt heavier than usual, like it carried a weight she couldn't explain. She brushed it off as fatigue. After all, moving was exhausting. Later that night, as Sarah lay in bed, a faint whisper broke the silence. It was soft, almost like a breeze, but it had a shape, a voice, a word. At first, she thought it was just the wind outside, but as it grew louder, the whisper seemed to come from within the house. Sarah. Her heart skipped a beat. Sitting up in bed, she strained to listen. The whisper faded, and all that remained was the sound of her own breathing. She laughed nervously, chalking it up to her imagination. Living alone in an old house could play tricks on anyone's mind, right? The following day, Sarah explored the house more thoroughly. It was old, with creaky floorboards and tall windows that let in streams of dim light. In the attic, she found a dusty trunk filled with old photographs and letters. The faces in the photos were blurred, as if the images had decayed with time. One letter, however, caught her attention. It was dated 1924 and was written by someone named Abigail. The letter spoke of sleepless nights, strange whispers, and shadows that moved on their own. Abigail described feeling watched, followed, even when she was alone. "The shadows whisper my name," the letter read. "They want me to join them." Sarah's stomach churned. The details in the letter mirrored her own experience from the night before. But that was impossible. This was just an old house, and Abigail was just a figment of the past, long gone. Still, she couldn't shake the uneasy feeling. That night, Sarah found it hard to sleep. Every creak in the house made her jump. The air felt colder, more oppressive. And then, just as she was about to drift off, the whisper returned. This time, it was clearer. "Sarah, come." Her eyes snapped open. The voice was unmistakable, and it was coming from the hallway outside her bedroom. She grabbed her phone for light and slowly crept toward the door. Her pulse quickened as the whisper grew louder, more insistent. "Come with us."
Come on, Lucy.
Sarah hesitated at the door,
Lucy,
her hand
let's go.
trembling as she reached for the handle. She didn't want to open it, but something compelled her to move. Slowly, she turned the knob and pulled the door open, her heart racing in her chest. The hallway was pitch black, save for the faint glow of her phone's screen. But in the darkness, she saw them, shadows. They flickered and twisted unnaturally, their forms barely visible, yet undeniably human. And then they moved. They didn't walk or glide. They seemed to shift, like smoke, drifting closer to her. The whispers surrounded her, growing louder, filling her ears with a deafening chant of her name. "Sarah, Sarah, join us." Paralyzed with fear, Sarah stumbled back into her room and slammed the door shut. She pressed her back against it, heart pounding, struggling to breathe. The whispers persisted, growing louder and louder until it felt like they were inside her head. And then silence. Everything stopped. The whispers, the shadows, the movement. They all vanished as quickly as they had appeared. The only sound was her own ragged breathing. For hours, Sarah sat by the door, clutching her phone, waiting for the dawn to break. When morning came, she hurried out of the house, leaving behind her belongings and never looking back. She never spoke of what happened in that house, but deep down, she knew. The shadows were still there, waiting for the next person to call,